Boom. I'm a bookmaker in Amsterdam, and you're here at my office. Well, so when I really wanted to go to art school, although my parents didn't like that so much, but I really wanted to go and I wanted to become a painter. I was always painting. And so finally, I was admitted at the AKI, it's Academy for Art and Industry in Enschede, very close to the German border. The most liberal school ever, more liberal at that time than the Rietveld Academy in Amsterdam. So all the teachers came also from Amsterdam. It was super, super exciting for me. And I did that for a few years, but then I realized I'm a fan of Agnes Martin, Schoonhoven, Daan van Golde, all these Ellsworth Kelly, all these great artists, and I realized I cannot enter, or how do you say that, come to that level. And I also, because of that romantic idea of an artist painting in his studio, you need a little bit more to be this autonomous artist in a studio all alone working. And I realized it was very difficult. I thought it was really difficult. And so I thought I should check out something else. So my father and mother said, check out architecture. And they were always on the safe side, of course. But then I met this also artist at school who would every week come with suitcases full of books to school to talk about books. And it was love on first sight. I thought, that's interesting. So he was reciting poetry, he read parts from literature, and then he also explained about the books itself, how, for example, a Dutch writer, Jan Wolkers, and he has these beautiful books, Horrible Tango, Turkish Delight. And Abe Kuipers, the teacher, was explaining that the content and form were very much related, that the typographic covers of these books were amazingly fitting with the content. And for me, I think when he talked about these books, I thought, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to try. And immediately I went to the print shop and to the workshop and started to experiment. And of course, all the first books I made, poetry books, and I don't know what, it was all horrible, of course. But my teacher, Abe Kuipers, kept on encouraging me, try, do it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And that's what I did. And here we are. Yeah, but at that time, so it was the beginning of the 90s. So after I worked 5 years at the government printing office, so the state-run publishing and printing house. So and at that time, now it's a little bit less, but at that time, basically everything was subsidized. So if you would make a book, you make a book, the book you wanted. It was not. Make something with a glossy cover with an image on it and whatever. That was not the case. It was total free. And in that world, I started as a designer in total freedom and not thinking of what was selling or not selling. And I'm very happy that I experienced that time. And so, and that is still my way of working. Talking to all the people at the museums, they all I was a young girl, 28 or something, so they all received me and they talked to me, but they said, yeah, and how do you imagine working in the States and you have no experience with commercial things? And I said, yeah, but that's something you can learn. I thought, well, I want to live there, but I'm happy that they discouraged me, because they said, look at your work. It's all almost anonymous, and it's only when you open the book it happens. And but it's And then they said, well, it's impossible for you to work for us. But the funny thing is that now I'm working a lot for. My work is collected by the Museum of Art, the Art Institute Chicago. I work for MoMA, for Art Institute, for LACMA, for Bart Graduate Center. So now this is what they want. But at that time, they were not ready for it. But for me, talking about how a book works, so I do this study at the Vatican Library since 2018, and the cover was never important. It's the spine which is important. It is all about this and not about this. And so for me, it is really interesting that I'm not total crazy or something, that I make books which don't have a cover. And I just made a book with Marta Margiela. You know, Marta Margiela is anonymous, is invisible. And he asked me, we're not going to do a cover with something on it. I said, no, of course not, Martin. We make a cover. We only make a spine. Of course we only make a spine. And so now what was first working against me is now basically my trademark. Not the cover specifically, but everything around the cover, the spine, the edges, the book as a thing, of course, as a physical object, an analog object. So in the end, it's also because I think of internet. So when I went to the States, it was just before internet became big. It was just before 1991, and so I think internet, of course, also changed the way of bookmaking, especially how I make books, because I make very physical books, and this moment where, so this pivotal moment basically from analog to digital, made me realize that I have to articulate even more what I'm doing, and I think that's also why we're sitting here. Yeah, I'm very specific in making books. That is not, my books are not a PDF. Exactly. So when I made the Sheila Hicks book, that was also very interesting because the publisher said, this book won't sell on the internet because it's invisible, because it has an embossed cover. It is white. And there's no title. There's a huge title on the spine, and they said, "Well, you make us bankrupt, and what are you doing to us? We need an image on the cover, and if people want to buy it on the internet, it's nothing." And not of course, but it became a bestseller. So all these arguments always and assumptions people have, that drives me crazy. I think the assumption that they know, that they have an idea how it might or how it works, but you never know how it works. You have to. I also don't know, so it's always an experiment and trial and error. But at least try it, and then seeing is believing. So everybody can have can say something about it, but if you don't try, you never know. It's also with the Sheila Hicks book, that it's white, it gets dirty. Yes, of course it gets dirty. Every book gets dirty. Only at a white book you see it a bit more. But a book is a functional object, is something you use. Yeah, of course you see stains. Fine. The more the better. It's alive. A book is very much alive. It started all with a very sort of almost anonymous email from the American Academy if I wanted to become an artist in residence there. But it's the American Academy, and then I thought, but I'm from the Netherlands, so how does it work? But I said anyway. I always say yes before I say no. So I said yes, and then I got this email a year later. Okay, next month you're coming to Rome, to the American Academy. I went, and it was fantastic because I got a studio there and an apartment, and because I'm not American, so I'm not a Prix de Rome winner, but I was simply asked to become part of that community for a few months. I didn't have an assignment or something specifically to deliver. But if you're in Rome, Rome, of course, is the city of libraries. There are so many beautiful libraries. And I made a whole list. I thought I'd go everywhere. But first, no idea what I should do there. But at some point I was sitting, because you have dinner and lunch together, and at dinner I was sitting next to a medievist, Peggy Brown, from New York, and this lady said, "What are you? We are from the Netherlands. What are you doing here?" She was really sort of, so well, I also don't know yet, but I'm a bookmaker from Amsterdam, and I made an exhibition in my studio, which is huge. So I made an exhibition, and if you want to see my work, well, you're very well, you're invited. And then she made a thing out of it. She said, let's invite everybody on Sunday afternoon. I bring Prosecco, and we have a look at your work. And when she saw my work, because bookmaking, I think in the States, is something else than here in Europe. And when she saw my work, she said, "You're going to all these libraries, but there's only one library you should go to. That's the Vatican." That's also where she studied. She, for her whole life, she studied at the Vatican Library. And she said, but I said, how do I get in? Because it's only for scholars. She said, write a letter. And if there's somebody who can get into the Vatican Library, it's you. And so I said, well, you encouraged me very much. I did write a letter. I had it translated into Italian. I did an interview there, and I got in. For 10 times, they said. And then I thought, well, what shall I do? And then when I made that letter, this proposal to get into the Vatican Library, I thought, but what is really, also in this stage of my life, what is important? And what I realized that bookmaking, since its start, it regressed. It became in the beginning, certainly after Gutenberg, when you have the incunables, bookmaking was very free. It had to be invented what a printed book was. And I have a small library myself with books from that time and from the 60s. 1960s and 1500 and 1600, and I thought maybe that would be an interesting thing to study. What happened to the book? And basically, that's my study. What happened to the book? And in the beginning, when I was there asking questions to all these people there, but nobody understood what I was asking. They really thought, "Who is she?" And at some point, the cardinal, the librarian, I had to come to his office, and he said, "Who are you?" That's really what he said. "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Irma Boom, and I make books." And he said, "But all these questions you ask, nobody can answer your questions." So yeah, because I'm the only bookmaker in this whole Vatican Library. I'm making, like those books were made, I make books. And all the other people are just studying one tiny detail of a book or text or of an image or something very specific. And I study the book as a whole, as an entire piece. And so I explained what I was doing, and he said, "Okay, fine, continue. Va bene, tutto bene." And then. And that same day there was a book presentation in the Vatican Library, and presented by the cardinal. And then he did this, and I thought, oh my God, now he knows exactly that I don't know anything. But he said, "I googled you. We need to talk." And from that moment on, so the next day I had another meeting with him. And we were sharing more information, and I was telling more elaborate what I was doing and my intentions, and then we started this fantastic relationship where I got a lot of help from the Vatican, but I also gave them tools to work with. And at some point, exactly a year ago, the Cardinal said, I want you to make an exhibition with your discoveries or here at the Vatican. I thought it's perfect. And but then I met the curatorial team, and they said, yeah. Oh, and then in meanwhile, I also had an exhibition here at the Allard Pierson Museum, which also have my living archive. So it's the University of Amsterdam, the special collections, and they collect since 2003 everything I make. That's all these boxes you see in my office. It's all work or archival material I'm collecting for my living archive. And they saw that exhibition. They said, well, why should we show all these brown books we know so well in our exhibition space while you are inventing and reinventing the book? They said, we want to show your work. And but I said, yeah, but I want to show the things I have discovered. And they said, yeah, but they really had very specific ideas. And they recently got a gift from a priest who collected futurist books. And they said, we think, and they saw my book manifest. So it's book manifest. And the futurists have a lot of manifestos. They said, well, wouldn't it be a nice combination to show your work and in combination with your discoveries, so they're also in the exhibition, together with all the typographic experiments of the futurists. And that's basically what we did. First I thought, no, I was really rejecting showing my works, and now it should be all these. I have a 300-page script with all my discoveries all written down, and it's very elaborate what I wrote down, because you cannot take photographs in the Vatican Library. So I wrote everything meticulously down, what I've seen and what I discovered, and I really wanted to share that information. But they said, well, but we don't really want to do something else with the library. We urgently need to show your work. And then I thought, maybe I'm a fool why not? I think it's a fantastic offer. But I was so much into that study, and I'm really addicted to that study in the Vatican Library, which I still continue, because I want to make that pamphlet about my discoveries. And then I thought, okay, if we can do this combination, if we can make a sort of setup where they can show their collection, and I can do my thing. And that's basically what happened. And it was really, really a super nice collaboration with, I must say, more avant-garde curators than in a museum. They're very, very open, and they had a sort of hunger to discuss with me what would be possible for this exhibition. And it was a lot of fun and inspiring to work with these three people. So a priest, the head of the priest, who's a super intellectual person who studied philography, so he's really into lettering and the meaning of everything, and the publisher who speaks 10 languages: Arabic, Turkish, Syrian, it's everything. And then the head of the print cabinet, also a super interesting lady. So I was working with these people with so much knowledge, and it was fantastic to have this back and forth with them, what we would show and how we would show it. And because now I also have an exhibition in the Rijksmuseum with where we combine modern art from the 60s and my books, and where it is interesting, if you have art on a wall, you can basically touch it, but if you have books somewhere, people want to pick it up. So those books I had to protect. So those books in the exhibition in the Rijksmuseum are in plexiglass boxes. So they really become almost a form of art, which I'm totally against, but it's the only way to do it. And I must say it works. It is basically how I show many times my work. Also in the Allard Pearson, I also put it in plexiglass boxes, but there I only showed models, so one-offs. More an argument to show it, to protect it, because it's a one-off piece. But it really works. And but in the Vatican Library, it's if you go there and you visit the exhibition, so which is open only 6 days now, the books are on a shelf, and basically you can go through it, but not the visitors, because if you go and visit the library, you get a tour. You always get a tour. They always explain what they are doing and what my work means in comparison to my own discoveries and their futurist collection. So but they go through the books. So there the books are just on a shelf, basically how a book should be presented, and that you can leave through the book. So it is very those are very different exhibitions, but both with good arguments. It's really good, very nice, very not too big exhibitions, sort of focused exhibitions in a not too big spaces, and it's really nice, I think. But no, it's they always told me, do what you always do. That's all the time they told me. I said, well, because they asked me to make a calendar, an agenda, a planner, and if you see their previous planners, they're very what you expect at the Vatican. But they really encouraged me, do what you always do. Don't think that we're the Vatican, we want something else. We want you. And but I said, I have also an obsession with Galileo. And I said, if I make this planner for the Vatican, I want to dedicate it to Galileo, who proved in 1610 that the Earth is going around the Sun instead of the other way of the Sun around the Earth. So the Earth is not the center, but the Sun. And I want to do something with that notion. And of course we don't have a sun calendar, we have a moon calendar, and that's what I use. And we see the moon also because the sun is, because of the light of the sun. And that is basically the calendar. It is showing when the sun is shining on the moon. Yeah, and what crucial was for me that Galileo wanted to print it in a booklet. He wanted to print, and I also placed it in my booklet. Actually, it's my book manifest starts with Galileo, so it is in the Siderius Nuncius. He urgently want to have it printed, that he could prove that the Earth is going around the Sun. So for me, that somebody in 1610 wants to prove urgently a statement, that's basically what I'm always doing. I also want to prove, I also want to print, because print is the most stable, one of the most stable mediums ever, because since the beginning of bookmaking, and it's after Gutenberg, but also the beginning of bookmaking, the book basically never changed. It's always this bound paper or papyrus material bound together in an edited form. So it's basically the sort of basic forms of sharing information. And so for me to that Galileo wanted to do that was also an extra argument to use him for inspiring source for this calendar. And then I used these neon colors. And they also wanted to have my name on it, so Boom and the Vatican. Which I said all the time, so that I never have my name on the cover, never. It's always the author. Yeah, but you're the author now. So they made a point, and they were really, really supporting. And of course the futurists are also represented between every 3 months. I have a futurist section, and every 3 months, of course, is a color, and it starts with yellow, which is the color of the Vatican, and then orange, pink, and green. And the agenda starts with Galileo, and it ends with Galileo. Well, I said, well, shouldn't we do? They said no. In the library world, planners are used. A lot of people said, because they all liked it so much, they said we are using it. But I said, I wonder how, because what I did, I added a philosophical element in it. Instead of having, I made a weekly calendar, and per day there are only 3 lines to write an appointment. So I suggest to do a maximum 3 appointments a day. And not like the people have now crazy appointments, 10 appointments, I don't know how many. Everybody's in this fast forward, how do you say that? Gear. And so I thought it would be interesting to have less lines, so that you have more time to think. And on Sunday, no lines, of course. And they wrote an introduction to this calendar, where they acknowledge that notion that there are only 3 lines to make appointments. Only 3, but of course you can split it and do more. But it's to encourage to slow down a bit, and of course you can always write something here, but. No, I do agree. I'm a totally work addict, and I'm addicted to the study in the Vatican, but also, of course, my working place is a magnet. I'm always there, but maybe it's a wish that I think that I should slow down, but yeah, but. I'm so much I'm always, if I have new projects, I'm always in it. I'm totally in it. That is, and also the work I'm doing, I think, is very satisfying and rewarding, and I have many people who always, you make something and people say, oh, so I have a lot of pleasure. I have a lot of fun, and so there's for me no way stopping it. It's only and I have to and I feel speed even more, because if you get older, I think, how many books can I still make? I made 500. I want to make another 500 at least, because I'm developing, and for me it's of course not about the quantity, but making is also. It's a part of the developing process. If you only have an idea in your mind, it doesn't mean anything. You have to create. At least I have to materialize in order to know if it works, and if you make it, the idea exists. Then it's there. Because also when I presented this agenda, they really said, do it. They were, whatever you want, do it. And but when it came out, they said, we didn't know it was this thing. It's better than we could ever imagine. They had total trust, because they say you should do what you always do. And but I have the feeling that I still have to discover so much more. So I have to produce, and I get all these wonderful people who want to have a book. That's the other thing. It's not that I have to do things I don't like. I only do the things because I reject 50 or 60% of the projects, I only do what I think there's a chance to help the book further, to keep the book vital, and looking for the limits, what is possible in bookmaking now. So it's really an ongoing thing. Yeah, no, but this, I don't know if it's pure ambition, which is always very negative. I think I am very ambitious, but really I'm so much into that whole idea of bookmaking, putting things down in a book. And I also know that a book is a tool. It's if the moment you put information in an edited form in this thing, it becomes something else. It's basically imagine if I was the painter, the artist. Nobody would discuss why an artist is every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day or whatever, is in his atelier, in his studio. And nobody would argue why he's still doing this analog thing. That's basically that obsession and this urgent thing I want to do. So maybe that is maybe the background of the artist. Maybe if I reflect on that could be a possibility. And I really like sitting early in the morning and in the evening all alone in this place where I'm just trying. It's just trial and error. This catalog I made for the exhibition. So this is the agenda, black and silver, and this is the catalog for the exhibition at the Vatican, where they only basically wanted to have my name on the cover. So it is there. I have the luck that my name is Boom, but many people think that I'm Irma Boom, because Boom. That's also why they chose the futurist, because they think of boom, explosion. And of course it means tree, boom. And that was also a trigger for them. So if you enter the Vatican Library, you see my name in an explosion. It's boom, boom everywhere. BOOM exclamation mark. So it's really, if you enter, it's hard to miss that I have show there. Or at least there is something with boom. But then in the exhibition are there are very short captions. For my books is really Hommage à Kelly 2016, for example. And for them, we also made very short captions. But then, so I made this catalog, silver and black, and it starts with the works in the exhibition. So on the bottom side part there you can see my books, and on the top part you can see the Vatican books. And it starts immediately. Here are all my questions and my manifesto. What I did is in English, what they did is in Italian. And it starts with a text from the new librarian, Monsignor Zani, and he's a new librarian. It's a very beautiful text, how new becomes old and old was new. Very beautiful philosophical text. The people in the Vatican write very philosophical. So that was also a discovery, that they don't write like a normal person, art critic or somebody who reviews a book. Now they go in a much deeper layer. Very, very. You feel the 2,000 years there, and it was a very nice discovery. Of course, it's in Italian, and I had to put it in DeepL to read what it was. But they also said when Pope Julius II gave contemporary artists jobs, contemporary artists like Raffaello and Michelangelo, it was also disputed. And now, of course, we look at these artists as great artists. So and it's very nice. They say that's what we're doing now here as well. We ask somebody which maybe is for in the Vatican world, in this world, maybe gone too far, but maybe later it will be understood why we ask her. It is. That's a very short thing, and it starts with this catalog with the Vitruvius carpet. When I was in 2018, so my first 6 months in the Vatican Library, I found this book of De Architectura from Vitruvius, very known book, 1522. And it's very beautiful because it has the original text in the small part and all the comments are around it. So every page is related to content. So it's not a design, but the design makes itself. That's basically how I work. I still consider myself as a terrible designer. I just have one idea, and that one idea I execute. That is my whole thing. I only use basically 2 typefaces, Neuzeit and Plantin. That's about it, and because I only concentrate on that one concept. So I made a line when I started this book only with my works in reverse chronological order, what I always do. They asked me what I always do. In this booklet, only the works in the exhibition. And then when I placed my work all in anti or reverse chronological order in the document, I printed it. And then I placed all their futurist works just out of the blue, associative, on top, and it is amazing how it works. So that's that. But I also had to place text, and the text about my work by one of the curators is in black. Another curator wrote more in a philosophical way about my books. This is more descriptive. This is more philosophical, and there's one more text about the futurist. And but so I did things just, I didn't want to know, I all the works, all the images I got from the futurist, I just cut out and printed in small and placed here, just where I thought it would be nice. So my work is very concrete and consistent, but what you see here is very associative and what I thought would be nice working with my work. But they were totally. I said, but I'm taking books apart, so I only take page 3 from that book, and from the same book, page 20, I place somewhere else. Fine, they said, you're free. So I am free. Okay, so it was really good. So this is a bit what you see if you enter the library, and. One of the discoveries, one of the things I found in the library is the first printed pocketbook. It's in 1501 by Aldus Manutius. It's a very beautiful book, and the content is a laudatio on the countryside. And when I was also studying in the Vatican Library, I was working with Rem Koolhaas on the exhibition in the Guggenheim on the countryside. And the oldest book in the Vatican Library is also from Virgil, the Laudatio on the countryside. I thought, and then this pocketbook is on the countryside. Then I thought, well, I have to make a catalogue for the countryside exhibition in New York. Let's make it a pocketbook size. So I made it on the size of the Aldus Manutius book, which you can also see in the show in the Vatican. And you can imagine if the Guggenheim saw this tiny book, they said, well, we always make big books. That's not a catalogue, that is something else. But I said, and then I told the story about the countryside, Aldus Manutius, for the Virgilius, I would say, Virgil. And then they said, well, of course, we do it. And it was super nice. And because it was so small, many people bought it. It's a pocketbook. It's published by Taschen, so Taschen is a pocket. So it's for me it was fantastic, and I also use the same principles as this pocket book. So it's all typeset in italic, because an italic is very efficient. It's very it reduces. It takes much less space, and what I did was using every piece of paper basically in the pocket book is printed. You don't see an empty space. So I did in another way. I also was very efficient, but the dimensions are exactly the same. Well, and I was looking for simply very loosely associative images. Yeah, and here you hardly see the difference between Vatican and my work, my book. And this is on the futurist. Yeah, this it is amazing, and it's printed on my own paper, the IBO 1, made in Germany actually, and it's very transparent, which for this issue is really nice. And it's in the exhibition in the Vatican. They also have a collection of Bruno Munari. And he also used transparent paper, and so the really transparent paper. And if you compare it to what I'm doing, there is also again, but I didn't know it all. But there's also this comparison, which is really really nice. Yeah, so all these worlds come together, and I think that is amazing. My book on color. And then in the De Pero book, the bolted book, then you also have these pages. Isn't that amazing? And then it's about onomalingua, so onomatopoeia. So basically, like my name is Boom, and that's also where they also write a lot about nomen omen. We say I always thought that we say nomen est omen. But they say nomen omen, so the meaning is in the name, boom. So they really, it's really interesting. Oh yeah, about the pocket book. Why, I wanted to make, of course, a pocket book for this exhibition, but they had 2 exhibitions before. I was basically number 1, but because of Corona, I became, in the end, number 3. Fine, I totally believe in number 3. And I wanted to make a pocket book, and they said, no, we really want to make a series, and you have to respect our catalog size. I thought, okay. But then I make a book in a book. So it's a book in a book. So I designed it basically on a pocket size format. And I wrote here my legitimation why it's a bigger book. This is a book in a book. The pocket book size 160 by 100. In the bigger book size 235 by 165. So we're both like okay, but it also has the crop marks of the pocket book, of course. No, and what I so sometimes if somebody says, no, we really want to keep that size, then I immediately start to think, yeah, but I want a pocket book. How can I? I do the book in the book, of course. So that's something immediately happens. Yeah.